This person, what do you think happened to this person? Been out in the sun a lot, right? This just, I mean, he's probably not a sun worshiper, but he worked outside in the sun probably most of his life, and this is kind of the result. Just too much dried, crackly skin now. Now, he's probably a little dehydrated at the same time, but it makes a difference. So skin cancer, most skin tumors are benign. They're not a big issue. You can get them taken off. They don't cause you a lot of problems, but they can metastasize to other parts of the body depending on what kind of cancer it is. So we talked about too much UV light, too much sunlight can cause problems. Other things too. If you put smoking along with that, it increases the chances of getting skin cancer and other problems in the body also. So we have to look at that. Some skin lotions contain enzymes that can fix the damaged DNA, but most of the time, once you get the damage done, it's not going to be replenished. So there's three major types. We have basal cell carcinoma. Probably, if you're going to get something, this is the best one to get, least malignant. The squamous cell carcinoma. What does squamous mean again? Flat. Very good. Flat cell, when you look at it in the microscope, they're flat, and they're usually flat on the skin surface also. Then the melanoma are the most dangerous. Now, you see a lot of these in the southwest, the southern states, because there's a lot of sun all the time. Now, we're pretty much right now, today there's not a lot of sunlight out there, but if you're still out there, you can get a sunburn on a cloudy day, right? Everybody knows that?
Yeah, why is it that you can get more burn on the cloud day?
Well, a lot of times it's because you stay out longer and you don't sweat as much. So when the clouds are there, the UV light is still coming through if they're very thin clouds, and you think that it's still, you're being protected, but you're not. So you stay out amongst it more. Basal cell stratum basala is where it starts. 99% of the time they just scrape it off. They deaden it, and they'll put a little suture, a little scraping, and then they send it in to make sure that it's not malignant. Squamous cell, this is the stratum spongiosum layer. You find this on your scalp, your ears, the top of your ears, your nose, your hands, the back of your hands. You know, a lot of old farmers, the old timers would wear long sleeves, so they didn't have a lot of problems with their arms. The younger guys, they go out without a shirt, you know, and they get all over. You see the guys on the side of the road, you know, that are working the road crews. They look like they're so brown because they just take their shirt off and they work all day long in that way. But it's too much exposure. It can really dry their skin out, mess them up, cause damage to their cells, to their DNA, so that you can have mutations, which then causes the cancer. So the UV light causes the mutations in the DNA, which causes the cells to grow crazy, and that's what causes the cancer. Squamous cell is still a good diagnosis, but melanoma, not very good. This involves the melanocytes. Highly metastatic, moves around. A lot of times it takes surgery and some type of chemo or radiation to get rid of it.
Isn't it like it reaches a certain size, it might like give you a few years to live? I thought it said it before, maybe.
Yeah, if it gets too far along, you don't have much time with it, because once it metastasizes, then it's all over the body. So yeah, you have to look at the characteristics of your skin. If things start changing like a mole, you look at these four things: the A, B, C, D rule. They are asymmetric. If your mole starts becoming gnarly looking and it's not round and pretty looking anymore, you know, it's that beauty mark is now an ugly mark. That's one of the things you want to look at. If the borders start to get dips in them or rough, that's another thing to look for. If the color starts to change, if it's normally brown and it starts to turn black or red or has rings around it, yeah, that's another thing. And if it gets bigger in diameter. So if you have a birthmark or a beauty mark and it's just usually normally small, but it takes over half your face, that's probably not a good thing. Right? Yes.
For the SI coming in more often, because we're getting in about section, what time do you want that to be?
Yes, well, SI is going to be at the same time because that's when Brittany can come. You can come in anytime, all time when there's no one in here, you can come in. If I have lab, you can come in. Come in anytime that there's nobody in this room. You don't have to wait for SI. You just come in and study. We'll give you a piece and we'll go through it with you. This is what happens if some people, this one up at the top, the whole face is irritated and has problems with it. Now, when they take these off, though, it also makes them look really bad because they have to go in, either burn them off, scrape them off, so you have this open sore for a period of time. Until it heals up, you can really make a difference. If you get a mole like this bottom one here, it's just bigger and bigger, it's not a good thing. But when they talk about the ABCs, this little square down here at the bottom is what we will look at. The different colors, the sizes, the edges are getting more indented or not as smooth. This is, starting to change color, but it's still fairly round. These are getting really ugly looking and not good. So Nanny McFay would not do good with these. They don't go away. Burns, we talked about burns. Now you can have, they rate them in two different ways. First, second, third degree burns, or when we look at the rule of nines to rate burns. Now what they do is they break the body up into different areas, and the more you have burnt in your body, the more of a chance that you have of dying from a burn. You can die from getting burned too much. Right? So it dehydrates you, it takes away the electrolytes, it's basically just like putting a steak on an oven on the grill too long. It fries it. Yes?
So since I'm like kind of fair skinned, I get like burnt if I'm outside for a long time. So I can die.
Can you die? Yeah, we're all going to die. But
Well,
from
like I could die from burns.
you're not going to just fall over because you got in the sun. It's going to take time to do that. So yes, by having too much sun exposure, you can mutate the cells to create the cancer. And that's what does it. You'll develop lights. So being out too much can give you an increased chance of getting skin cancer, and if you get if you're out for a really long time, you get a first degree burn, you stay out there and you don't you fall asleep when you're sunbathing, you can get a first degree burn, which is just a normal sunburn. Then if you stay out there and you don't wake up, you can get a second degree burn. Probably not a third degree. That'll wake you up when you get a second degree. It starts to hurt really bad. But it can dehydrate you to the point where you're not going to be comfortable and you get what they call sun sickness. You start throwing up and you have all sorts of interesting problems happening with that. This happens when people go from Iowa to Mexico during spring break and they stay out in the sun for hours and they get sunburnt, they get sun sickness, and they get sick. They just start throwing up and having problems. So I've never heard of anybody dying from sunbathing. I suppose you could, but I've never heard of that. So this is what we look at when we're talking about the rule of nines. They rate the areas of the body according to the severity. If you get a burn on your face, it's more severe than if you get burned on like your thigh. Right? It's closer to the head. It's going to dehydrate you more in that way. So they add it up to 100%, and if you burn 100% of your body, you're in trouble. It can be a really bad thing. A lot of people will get burned on the front or the back or one side, and even that, if you have a third degree burn with just this very small part of your body, you can die from that. You don't have to be burnt completely all over your body. But even a first degree burn on most of your body, let's say you are laying out, you fall asleep in the sun, it will causes lots of damage, and you can get sick from it. Yes?
When you're like driving in a car, and you have pants on and the sun's beating in on the windows,
Mm-hmm.
what causes your legs to turn purple under your pants?
Turn purple?
I've never
Yeah.
heard of this.
What causes it?
I've never seen that.
It's like lines that, like it's burnt, but it's
Oh.
like a purplish color instead of red.
I've never had it turn purple on me. I don't know.
What's turning?
It could be just the coloration is coming through there. I don't know what kind of pants would do that. It's not staining, right?
No,
It's just
like,
the sun?
It's like it's burnt, but it's like a purplish color.
Maybe it's mixed with
Hmm.
dye from your pants.
I don't know.
Where the heat is
But
melting.
it's like hot
Oh,
like
dye.
it.
like, you get bruised or something?
No.
I don't know if I've ever seen that. I'll have to look that up. Go drive around for a while and come back and let me see it. I don't know. I've never seen that.
Mostly during summer, I've had it happen a couple times, but when the sun's beating through the window onto your leg.
I've had it when I'm wearing shorts and I just get like a line, like a tan line.
No, this is,
That's pretty cool.
That's different. I'm gonna have to do some research on that one. I don't know. Everybody's different. So, 1st degree, 2nd degree, 3rd degree. We went through those. 1st degree is minimal. It still hurts. 2nd degree hurts worse. Epidermis is getting trashed. The dermis is going into the dermis area. Blisters start to show up in 2nd degree burns. 3rd degree burns, the entire thickness of your skin is burned. The epidermis is burned down into the hypodermis. It starts to turn gray, white, kind of cherry red color, black. No initial swelling, but it starts to pick up after a while, and you get a lot of times skin grafting is necessary, either auto-grafting or artificial skin, bringing them into those conditions because the skin is just burnt up. It just fries it. Denatures the protein in your skin, and it's very, very drastic. Now, there's not as much pain because the nerve endings are destroyed in the 3rd degree burns. It's very critical for burns if 25% of the body has 2nd degree burns, or if 10% of the body has 3rd degree burns, or if you burn your face, hands, and feet with 3rd degree burns.
Why hands and feet?
Because those are the areas, you have a lot of sweating in those areas, especially on the tops of them. It becomes more of a dehydration situation in a lot of these. Now, some people, like this is probably appears, this is an older person, so I'm not going to say that it's sunburn. Maybe she's been out sunbathing, I don't know, or he or whatever. Got their swimming suit on or whatever, but this little baby here got into something. Now, one of the big things that babies do, the kids do, is they walk along, they'll reach up in the stove, and they grab the handle of the pot on the stove, and it comes right down on top of them. So when you're cooking and you have kids around, always cook in the back of the stove. Always. And they take the knobs off your burners. And the kids can't turn them on. Because they'll go up, push a chair up there, turn on the knobs, and fry themselves. They crawl a little frying pan and they cook themselves. Please turn off your cell phone. Thank you. Yes?
I heard that when you're like tanning in a tanning bed, that it's all it's doing is like boiling your intestines. Just because like the heat, no, like
It's like it's cooking.
it's just like it's cooking your organs
So,
because like it's so hot.
yeah, and after a while, your belly button pucks out like a turkey. No, I don't think it gets that deep. I mean, it can definitely hit the layers of the skin, but I don't think it's going to go through that far.
What?
Yeah, I don't think it'll go through that far to your intestines. Now you're going to increase your blood pressure, your blood temperature, because of the temperature on the outside of your body is going to warm up, but inside it's not going to affect it that much. Another one here is, like, this is a 3rd-degree burn in the bottom. And then you have to make sure that you cover the burns, keep them clean, because they're very susceptible to infections after this point.
Is that fixable, or is that just like, do you stuck with it unless he gets a skin graft?
What they do is with this is they go in and they debride it. They take and they'll strip that off, and they'll scrape it till they get down to good skin, and then they can rebuild it after that. But no, it's pretty painful. They scream, and they usually put them out to do that. But they'll physically.
Don't they?
What's that?
They do it with a wire brush. don't
Yes.
Please tell me to knock you out.
They just chew it off basically.
Oh, they could be returned.
So some of the skin development that we happen when we're developing, we have ectoderm, which turns into our epidermis. We have the mesoderm, which is our dermis and a hypodermis. These are our embryonic layers. The langual coat of hairs usually in the 5th to 6th month. Now not all babies come out with cottage cheese all over them, caseosa, but they have long langual hair, which is very thin and very light. This vernix caseosa, looks like cheese. It's like the stuff you put on your burrito, and it's kind of protective of your skin and your fetus. And they just wash it off when you're done. So sometimes we get dermatitis in adults, which is we can have from derma is skin and itis is an inflammation. So it could be something, maybe you wash your clothes in the wrong detergent, or you have the wrong perfume on that causes the skin to react. It becomes an allergic reaction a lot of times. So hives, dermatitis, irritation to the skin could either be a problem from the inside coming out, or something affecting the outside of the skin going in. And that can be a problem also. So sebaceous glands increase in adolescence, puberty, we have problems with that. As we get older, the epidermis is not as replenished as much. So grandpa starts getting wrinkles more, become more dehydrated, more rough. Skin becomes dry, itchy, because there's not as much circulation, there's not as much moisture and oils going to the skin. We basically dry up and shrivel up like a prune. So we also start losing things like fat layers. You'll see a lot of older people start losing weight if they get in their 90s, and you very seldom see someone that's 90 years old that weighs 400 pounds. They either
All they do is eat breadcrumbs all day.
they either die young because they weigh so much, or they lose that weight as they get older. You very seldom. You work in a nursing home, right? Do you see? Is anybody heavy in the nursing homes that are old?
I work with the VA, I work with the
Oh.
hospital. I used to work with the
I do. What?
Do you see any heavy people like 90s?
I'm not sure how old they are, but we still have some. But most of them are like they're really frail and skinny though.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and they lose a lot of things. So, and then cancer increases as we get older, also, just because of exposure from previous times. And this is what we look like as we get older. Things start moving south on us. Your stomach doesn't have as much tension in it, or breast tissue starts moving south. We need a facelift, a neck lift, all these different things. The elasticity of our skin kind of gives up after a while and causes problems. Then a couple things just to, things that you could do. Maybe this is a do-it-yourself facelift. You have to keep it there forever though, so it's not probably a good thing. Right?
When she pulls those things out, they're still gonna her face is gonna be
This guy is evidently trying to set a world record or impress his lady friend. I don't know.
I don't.
Yes.
Is it true that your nose and your ears never stop growing? That's why old people have big noses and big ears.
Your feet too also have growing issues, but not appreciably. They're not going to have like a foot nose sticking out when they're 90 years old. A lot of it is, it's not so much the nose is growing, but the rest of the skin is shrinking back. so it appears longer too. But things like hair, those types of things are always growing. And sometimes the hair becomes so thin that the ears look bigger. The end. Okay, so that's it for that chapter.